When I was driving home from Abbotsford yesterday in that windstorm.
Yeah.
Highway traffic westbound that I was in came to an abrupt halt.
Okay.
Because the road was littered, and I am not making this up.
Yeah.
With large women's hats.
Okay.
And an oversized Winnie the Pooh plush doll.
That's amazing.
Wow. Now, are they hats that are large and for women, or are they hats specifically for large women?
They are large, floppy Malibu Stacy hats.
Okay. The way you said it, I just wanted clarification.
Yeah, they're big. They're plus-sized hats. No.
I didn't know how you'd spot that. I was impressed.
Anyway, do you want to know why traffic came to a complete halt at that moment?
Why was all of that stuff all over the highway?
Well, it doesn't matter, but I caused the traffic to stop because I pulled over to pick up all the hats in the Winnie the Pooh, so I've got presents!
Oh, we get a lot of shots. Everybody come to the net. We just have to get more and more pucks to the net.
Pucks on net.
Go pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
Continue to put pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
Put pucks on net and get lucky sometime.
Pucks on net and driving and making a hard night on it.
Live on tape from...
You were just bragging about how you could talk over the music with the new chord.
Live on tape from Geeta's apartment, her palatial estate on the 23rd floor.
You're not talking, you're yelling.
This is Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast. Doesn't talk about fantasy or fancy stats. And I came into this podcast, this Sunday matinee recording, with a brand new cable in my hand, and I was cock of the walk. I said, I've fixed all our problems, gang. Now we can listen to the intro music under our speaking when the show starts, and then I promptly forget to hit unmute on all the buttons. So maybe next week.
Well, they're going to be coming to you with job offers from, Rogers and Bell soon to work on one of these all-talk sports radio stations.
The way I'm running this board?
Yeah.
What?
You know what? They have issues like that constantly on those stations. You're totally qualified. I am sorry if I insinuated anything otherwise.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Chapp. I'm going to be your host for the evening. Riding shotgun to my immediate left, she's Geeta. She owns this joint, and she's looking for something.
Tissue. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Put your feet up. Why don't you make yourself at home?
Yeah.
And PMAC, you're here. And
I'm here.
And what did you just drink?
He was here first.
I know.
Well, I mean, you were here before me, Geeta.
We let her in first.
Yeah.
How many, you just explained before we started your coffee order, and it's quite mind-boggling.
Well, it's just, it's the pairing with the guy in front of me in line was like very apologetically asking the barista, is it bad if I get like 4 shots of espresso in my super sugary latte? And she was like, no, it's okay. None of us will judge you. And then I got to the front line. I'm like, I want 4 shots of espresso straight.
So, I thought you were breathing, but that's just your heart beating through your NASA hoodie.
This is what I do for the podcast because I'm a very sleepy, mellow person, and if I don't throw some caffeine back before the show...
Dave's going to walk all over you.
Well, that, too. I just fall asleep in this comfortable love seat.
that almost got thrown out in the dump. Want to thank you for joining us wherever you got us from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PucksOnNetCA or PucksNetCa. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can head on over to patreon.com/PucksOnNet where you can pledge a couple of bucks. $5 can get you. Paul and I recorded a long-winded bonus show on Friday afternoon.
Oh, did you?
That's out on the. That's out now. I put a teaser on the podcast feed last night, so it's all about Peter Chiarelli's time as Oilers GM. It's called the Chiarelli-sode.
Yeah, if you're wondering if Peter Chiarelli was a successful general manager or not during his tenure in Edmonton, this podcast answers that question that you're probably on the fence about.
Spoiler alert, no.
Oiler alert?
Spoiler alert.
That's what the show's should have called it that. He's very bad. And we started...
There weren't a lot of good moves, and several of the moves we decided were I think he had 7 good signings or trades we decided.
That
and
seems like a lot.
A bunch of those, though, were
Ben Scrivens for Zach Cassian.
Or
Vancouver did too, okay?
Brandon Press, that's a W on the board for Jimbo.
It was a lot of, at least he got something for this asset that he probably would have lost for nothing in the summer. It was scraping the bottom of the barrel when it came to
the
wins.
Oil barrel?
Whammo. $5 or a little bit more. That gets you access to that bonus episode. And it was a lot of fun. I like that. I like those episodes, and it's pretty just, this is a good move, this is a bad move.
Okay.
And then we say this is a bad move about 47 times through the show.
It's a little sleepy episode because Ryan forgot to hit go on the coffee maker, but otherwise it's fantastic.
Oh, it's always something with it.
Well, no, that was on me because I was sleepy.
Yeah, well, things started out sleepy. We picked it up. We were just talking about Rock and Randy Carlyle before the show. Should we hop into that?
Hey, wherever you want to take this boat, you're the capitano.
To clarify, we were not talking about Randy Carlyle. We're not allowed to talk to each other pre-podcast.
Well, you had some good bits. I just gave Dave the 5-minute warning. I figure we can do ducks by ourselves.
Okay.
Because we seemed pretty intrigued. Mm-hmm. This morning, in one of the biggest shockers, is that
I thought that wasn't a shocker. I was like, Randy Carlyle just got fired?
it's a shocker because Bob Murray, who now, if you go to the LinkedIn of the Anaheim Ducks,
Right.
there's like 2 accounts, and one is Walt Disney, former owner, and now current one is Bob Murray. Everything.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that move seemed really kind of shady to me. Like, I don't know who Bob Murray is because he's not Andy or Brian, but but it seems like he's just like living out some sort of dream, and now he's taking over this coaching job.
He idolizes Mike Keenan, who
He's not the first. This is an old-time hockey move to just make yourself the coach, especially late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the only 2 jobs he has. I'm still not sure when you guys are like, he's doing everything. It's like,
he's
That's
executive.
what the internets have told me.
He's executive vice president. He's general manager, and now he's interim head coach.
generally a general manager
He's
is at
wearing a
least
lot of
vice
those
president.
hats that were on the highway.
Yeah, he's wearing he's got so many of those lady hats.
They're
on.
very large.
And the Winnie the Pooh head.
And then he gave Winnie the Pooh to Ryan Kessler. Hey, sorry about your year, pal.
There's a couple curious things. He's repeatedly said he doesn't like firing coaches mid-season. He likes to wait till the off-season. He doesn't feel it's that valuable a move.
Yeah.
But Ryan's pointed out in our rundown somewhere on here, how bad have the Ducks been?
How bad have they been?
Lost
P-Mac?
19 of their last 21 games, so that may have forced his hand.
Very bad.
What I think is what's a bit of a shocker is he's like, I'm not firing Randy Carlyle. We're not looking for a new coach. Like, and as it was on 31 Thoughts, I believe, which now the drinking game on Pucks on Net is every time Paul and I mention 31 Thoughts, the podcast, you take a drink because we both listen to it quite intently. But they were saying this season's a wash, and they're not going to worry about it because of the injuries. Perry's out. I think he's out. One of the big
Perry's coming back soon, though,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Allegedly, Kessler's done, and they have a handful of prospects down in San Diego.
You notice, speaking of that podcast we'll try to mention less, they were talking all of a sudden about Ryan Getzlaf maybe being on the block, and who brought that up a week ago?
Exactly. So
P-Mac. So they probably listen to us.
it's like a feedback loop of listening, and then I said that, and then they said this, and then they say this, and then I'm going to say that. But
We've made a lot of bold predictions this year.
Well, listen, when somebody offers Sheets Patrick Laine and then they go, "Oh, looks like we can't do it. Whoopsie." I think what was happening was like, as long as your team, I think that maybe he wasn't really giving it his all or expecting the team to, like, he got a little complacent.
Carlyle?
Yeah, where it's like, fuck it, I'm not going to try. These guys aren't trying. If nobody's trying, the hell with it. And so that would instill that type of bad, oilery kind of stink to the Ducks of, don't even bother. We'll worry about it next year, when in reality you want your players to give it their all and work hard every night, every practice.
Right.
Especially, they've got a lot of young guys that potentially
Exactly.
could build a second wave here for the Ducks on, and you don't want them. Young players on a team that's not making the playoffs should be looking at game to game, to a certain extent, a little selfishly, like, what kind of numbers can I put up?
Well, of course.
What can I learn? What can I do better this game? And if Carlyle wasn't, and he's historically been known as a coach that's all just like in the trenches, hard-nosed stuff, never give up, never surrender. Even if you're down 6-1, you're going to battle.
Right.
Yeah.
But if Bob Murray didn't feel that was happening. The other curious thing here, though, that I was going to bring up, Bob Murray, as far as I could tell, and I looked everywhere I could, has no experience coaching professionally or in junior
See?
or in
Shady.
college. Like he's a former player.
He wants to
Okay.
get the work experience
Yeah.
in. It's an internship.
And
He's got his eye on the Oilers job or something.
he's worked in the head offices of NHL teams
Right.
since about 1990.
Yeah.
Starting with Chicago, quickly became their general manager after 6 or 7 years in their system, became the GM in the late 90s. Didn't last long. Worked with the Canucks for a number of years, actually, under
Okay.
Brian Burke, was one of their, I think he was a scout in
Sure.
Vancouver. That was long enough ago. I'm pretty sure it was a scout. And, went with Burke to Anaheim and stuck it out that, he's become the GM and taken over.
Yeah.
So he's never been a coach before. He's the type of guy, it's not like John Chayka going in and trying to coach some hockey games. It's a little different when it's a former player who at least can run the practice.
Okay.
And at this point in the season,
it doesn't matter.
he's more just going to yell at people, I imagine.
because that's what this team
Ryan,
needs.
you need to be looking at Dave so that he can get direction. from
Maybe
you.
you need to just snuggle up.
My cable.
No, that's okay. I can
Dave's
see the
here,
two of you
everybody.
just fine.
Dave, you can now see Paul and Geeta on the Skype. I've turned my laptop a little askew.
Why, hello.
Dave,
Hello.
Dave, we were just wrapping up talking about Randy Carlyle getting the boot in Anaheim, and I thought of this on the way over. If there's one thing Bob Murray and the Ducks love getting, it's former Canucks. How long until AV is coaching RK-17 again? Huh?
Cue sarcastic AV laugh behind the bench at something that's distasteful.
Reunited and it feels so good.
I only think that he goes to Anaheim if Bieksa decides to come back and play. Like, it couldn't really get any worse. They might as well sign him for the rest of the year.
Sign him as a player coach.
Well, I think he's done, so couldn't he just come on board as an assistant with AV? That might be fun.
That would
be fun.
That'd be a throwback.
Honestly, I think that a guy like AV would probably be best served to stay away from that and wait for Seattle 2021. That's my advice if I was AV's agent. But Dallas Eakins, I think, is the guy that they've already kind of tagged as the next coach of the Anaheim Ducks, and Bob Murray's going to finish the year off to leave Eakins in San Diego.
Former Duck himself.
Oh, that's right.
I believe
yeah.
Dallas Eakins in the 90s
Well,
wore the purple and green.
I can't recall, and I can't look it up because my computer is facing you guys. Speaking of other coaches that are doing very poorly right now, who would have saw this coming except all of us? And that's Ken Hitchcock is no longer resonating with the Oilers. Now, PMAC and I talked about this on the Patreon bonus episode, but we'll talk about it here.
Okay.
Last week, Glenn Gulletson, which I find shocking that he's still has a job.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that he wasn't working for the San Diego Gulls.
But he ran practice while Hitch sat in a comfortable chair in the stands and watched. And it seems like they're not he's not resonating with him anymore, and his old school like approach, teacher to student like approach to teaching these players is not paying off. And then he had a pretty eye-opening quote after they lost to San Jose, where it's like, as I look at the old rundown here because I forget what it was.
Well, I looked it up, though. Dallas Eakins, Florida Panthers. I was mixing up my expansion teams
Got
that you
it.
wound up on.
At this time of year, the coaches can't want it more than the players.
That I believe.
So, Dave, I want to get your take on what's going on in Edmonton. In round 6 of the 2018-2019 cluster fork.
It's truly, we did this segment years ago back in the Shaw Tower. I remember this clear as day, and it hasn't been solved yet, but it's an unsolved mystery. We have no idea. I could give you guys, some analysis if you want on what's happening in Edmonton, but I don't know. Like, who knows? They've tried literally everything, and nothing has worked. Maybe a time machine where they don't get rid of Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle? Maybe.
Now, the flux capacitor it doesn't work in the frigid temperatures of Edmonton, so they would have to do it in Calgary, but then they don't want to go there. It's that town, that cross-province rivalry. It's a big to-do. So no time machine.
It's actually the Mr. Fusion that doesn't work, but
yeah, you get the car up to 88 miles an hour going down White Avenue. You're going to slip right off and kill a bunch of people waiting to get into a club. Like, you can't do it.
Yeah, that poof of smoke that the car disappears into and it's spinning out isn't going to be pretty. Poor Einstein in the back seat's just going to get fricasseed.
Exactly.
Anyway, too many references to 80s movies. I'm sorry if people haven't watched
listening.
those or have stopped listening.
Maybe Biff Tannen or the principal from Back to the Future could coach the team. The
Biff's-
principal would just go in and call them a bunch of slackers.
Biff's busy. He's president of the United States of America right now. Come on, he can only do one thing at a time. Or
I feel like when these movies were in the theaters, the Oilers were good.
Very. we did. Well, I was gonna say we did talk about one thing they haven't really honestly tried on our special episode, and without giving away too much of what we talked about. They haven't raised the alumni to the ground as far as management and upstairs is concerned. Even when they let guys go and bring in a Chiarelli and say he's not a former Oiler, they've got Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish wandering the rafters and giving him 2 cents here and there. And the Gretzky brothers are now back in the loop because they're the new voices that you need.
And I made the comparison on the bonus show. We don't want to give away too much. Patreon.com/pucksonnet. But if you work at your place of employment where you have a bad boss that is terrible at his job, at their job, and they relieve them, but then the boss is still hanging around the office, and most of the people in the office still like him and respect them, and then the new boss is like, well, I'm going to do things this way, and then the old bosses are going, are you sure? Because I had a lot of luck. Good luck back in the day doing it this way. So you have all these just like former doofuses swimming around Rex or Rogers Place, and like it doesn't make any sense.
Are you saying that Peter Chiarelli was like the Jim Halpert of The Office in Edmonton?
Dave? Who would be the big picture guy there if Peter Chiarelli is the day to day?
Oh, that's Craig McTavish's big picture, and Peter Chiarelli is day-to-day. Sure. And then then you got Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish also in another room putting beans on the faces of the players to determine how much of a signing bonus they get.
Anyway, that was the one thing we came up with. Like, they've never really honestly cleaned house.
No.
There's a culture that's been there for 20 plus years, as far as management's concerned, 25 years. You might need to just go in and clear that out because you got to try something.
And we just spoke on how terrible these two Western Conference teams are.
Right.
And I'm sure points have changed a little bit. I don't know the updated, but like there 6 points separates the last in the West from the wild card team. So all of these teams we are pooping on, to quote Paul.
Any one of them can get in.
Yeah. Now, Dave, I'll ask you this question. Is it a parity thing or is it a turtle crawl? Are these teams just all not good or is it just, they're all at the same level in the West? Why is 6 points separating the Kings from the St. Louis Blues?
I think that the era of parity in the NHL is kind of over. I think that was a thing that was a pretty strong focal point, from the quote unquote new NHL coming out of the last lockout. But I think it's kind of ending. The cap goes higher and higher every year, which allows, some teams are willing to spend to it and some teams aren't. And it's not really in Edmonton's case because they do spend to it and it doesn't matter. But for a lot of other teams, it does. And we've got teams like Nashville, San Jose,
Winnipeg,
even Vegas. You still have to spend the money wisely, but there are teams that are willing to spend all the way to the cap every season, and they're going to be giving themselves the best shot. So I do think it's a parity thing where parity is ending. There are going to be consistently now 3 or 4 teams at the top of the West on 5-year cycles that are the haves, and then there'll be the rest that are the have-nots. Like that whole thing of any team can beat any other team on any given night, I don't really think that's true anymore. I don't think that, you can have like the worst team in the Western Conference, like the Anaheim Ducks. They're not going to go into Nashville on the road and catch them anymore. It's not going to happen.
Well, Bob Murray, who knows what to expect from him? He could go in. He could be coach of the year.
Has he ever coached? Do you guys know if he's ever coached?
I covered that. Yeah,
PMAC looked it
he
up.
might have coached Pee Wee or something. I didn't go that far.
Line 1,
District 5.
I mean, that's where he's at now. But I don't know if I can completely agree with that though, because Nashville's not a team that's known for always spending to the cap. But Anaheim is, and we're seeing right now, like, I don't know if it's the salary cap per se. I get what you're saying. There are some powerhouse teams, but when we really look at like the late 90s, early 2000s and talk about parity. There's more parity now than there was then, I think, in many ways, like a Detroit $80 million payroll versus the bottom of the league. Whereas now it's more just like teams that have good management generally and have drafted well and signed well, have consistent success, and that's more it than the money.
I just find it odd that in the East, the worst team, shockingly enough, Ottawa Senators, are 16 points out of the playoffs. And in the West, the Kings are exactly...
The West has more
8.
parity at the bottom. So it's a matter of, it's like nobody's that amazing after your top, 5 or 6 teams in the West. And the East has more separation with... There's more of this happening in the East than there is in the West right now, but there's still relative parity compared to some eras.
I don't think we need to analyze it to death. Like, if you look at the teams that are at the bottom of the East, like, they're really bad. Like, that's why they're so far out of the playoffs, and why the records of the teams in the middle of the East are inflated, because there are guaranteed win nights in the East, unlike the West. Like, Ottawa is awful. They caught Winnipeg on a weird quasi mid-morning game the other day for Hockey Day in Canada. But for the most part, like, they're pretty piss poor. I've seen a lot of them this year, and it's not just the standings. They don't pass the eye candy test. They're one of the most the below the zone, leave your goaltender and your defenseman out to dry, careless teams without the puck I've ever seen.
Dave, enough about the Edmonton Oilers.
They can't stop the puck. They can't do anything.
It's interesting, though, in the East, you look at teams like Carolina, who for the last little bit have been sort of on the outside looking in.
Right.
If you brought them in the Western Conference, I think they'd probably be potentially sitting there with 8-10 more points than they do right now. Like, there are a lot of good teams in the East that are on the outside looking in, and then there's the teams at the very bottom of the East that are probably a step below. Or Ottawa, I think, has some good pieces, but they're definitely, especially their blue line is extremely green. So
they've got like one good piece, like, that's not an unrestricted free agent and leaving next year.
Well,
they've got Thomas Chabot, and then, like, you look at Duchesne, Stone, and Dzingel are all having great years, but they're all gone. They might be gone next week.
They'll have the lesser Kachuk. Hey,
well, you'll have to see what they do with those assets, though. Like, that's the thing. They've got some pieces, and if they play it right, they're supposed to be starting a proper rebuild now. They could be on their way if they move some of those assets, or if they're the younger guys. Even a Mark Stone could probably stick around for quite a number of years and contribute if you can lock him in at a good contract. They've got a basis there to build something off of.
We'll speak about contracts here, because Auston Matthews, they locked him. They locked him down for 5 years, and pundits and naysayers are naysaying about this contract, and apparently it's problematic. The old boys say it's problematic because it's only 5 years.
Right.
I think it's a pretty good term. I think it's.
I don't understand how it works at all. I've looked at it 3 different times, and I just assume that Dubas did something right, because I don't get how it works.
Well, there's $750,000 a year in salary, and the rest is all like signing bonuses.
So a big sack of money at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, that's part of the lure. It's like he gets the money right away. He can have that. He can invest that, as opposed to getting his paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever.
And so his paycheck will be smaller every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. So that's a benefit to a lot of players. The team has to pay it up front before they're pulling in the money from gate revenue and stuff.
Right.
And then he can make money with that money. And being in Toronto, there are other benefits. I think a big part for him not being as eager to test the waters is being in Toronto. When he peaks, he's going to be all over Adidas stuff. He's going to be all over, whatever merchandising is out there. He'll be one of the guys, especially being an American in U.S. markets. Mm-hmm. They're going to pay that guy because he'll be leading Team USA at the Olympics again in China. So,
which is a thing now.
Probably.
It's a very badly kept secret. That's China money.
They're going to China. They got to go to China.
Have they seen that?
They have to go.
Have you seen? It's like that China money is like an Auston Matthews signing bonus, except times a billion.
So anyway, it's basically, you get the money up front. He could potentially, if he is smart with his money, invests it properly, be making an extra $1 million a year, $500,000 a year.
Well, he's got to be
getting that up front.
He's got it because he lives in Canada.
Well, he He might buy a bunch of Fabergé eggs at the beginning of the season and have no money. You don't know.
Hey, those Fabergé eggs, if their value goes up over the course of 12 months, it's a great investment.
He's going to buy a bunch of northern polar beanie babies and sell it to the beanie heads down south for an inflated price.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Tim Thomas just has his underground bunker filled with Fabergé eggs because gold is a safe investment, boys.
That's right. Well, it's an interesting deal that it's only 5 years. Yeah, and he's what? How old is Auston Matthews? Like 22. He'll be able to pull a Tavares, and if Arizona's still there, he can go to the desert.
And he can go there with all his Fabergé egg money that he's made in Toronto and live like a king because you can buy a mansion in Scottsdale for like $40,000.
Couple of bucks.
He's gonna own Scottsdale, Arizona.
It'll be Austindale.
Oh, I was like Auston Matthews, Arizona.
I mean, yeah, but he's the Scottsdale folk will probably want to keep the Dale in there.
Mayor Rhonda.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens because they got, Tavares is locked up. Marner's probably going to sign a long-term deal. And Nylander's got a no-trade guarantee from Kyle Dubas.
But they got to trade him.
I think he specified that was just for this season, though. Wasn't there some kind of weird, someone caught him up on his words?
But at least he kind of now knows how much money to ask for. If Matthews got this much and Nylander got that much, I get this much.
Yeah, Marner wants what Matthews gets plus 30% of the difference between Matthews and Nylander, and that's the Marner deal because he thinks he's worth it too. He's very good at hockey.
Thank God those Excel spreadsheets auto-calculate.
Yeah, he figured it out.
Unlike Chayeka's in Arizona, where all those formulas are busted, he's got errors everywhere.
Or he's in Arizona.
Game, by the way, on Saturday.
What was that?
Yeah, that's true. That game on Saturday, by the way, that Leafs-Habs game, I watched the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Wow. You couldn't have done really much better if you're the producers of Rogers Hockey Night in Canada, with those last two games of the day, with the Canuck game being as good as it was. But that Leaf-Habs game, that had everything. That was an awesome hockey game, and they're circling each other in the playoff positioning right now, and what a gift that would be to all of us in April if those teams line up.
I was going to say that would be exciting, and it hasn't happened since
1979.
Yeah.
Really?
Or 1969, I think.
No, 79.
Was it 79?
They played a playoff series in 79. It was the first round, and Montreal won the cup that year, and the Leafs were pretty terrible, and they swept them. But it was to the famous incident from that series is Tiger Williams getting a penalty that resulted in a goal, and then chased the referee to try to club him over the head with his stick. And Larry Robinson himself, the guy who scored the goal for the other team, had to grab him, bear hug him, and talk some sense into him.
Old-timey hockey.
Yeah,
wow.
With horrible.
It was a different time.
Well, yeah, you have horrible violence or attempts at violence, and then you have camaraderie between two teams like, hey there, Tiger, simmer it down a little there.
This reminds me of something else. When I was reading up on Bob Murray this morning, he accidentally hit a woman with a chair during the 2009 playoffs, and she did not pursue legal situation. She accepted his apology. But he was angry and threw a chair, and there happened to be a woman walking by or something when he did it. Anyway, fun, old-time hockey, 2009, way back when that type of thing happened all the time.
It was the Attitude Era. Everybody was hitting women with foreign objects.
Right?
I think we'll finish. Dave, we'll keep you down for one last discussion as we talk about how the Canucks beat the second or third highest scoring team in the National Hockey League on Saturday night. The no good shit sucking Calgary Flames. Actually, I quite like that team. They're very good, but provincial rival. What's the term I'm looking for?
Interdivision?
Western rival?
There you go. Western Canadian rival. Jacob Markstrom, it's shocking to see what happens to a goalie when they have confidence and they have...
they get rid of their ugly ear mask.
The ugly ear mask, yeah, that's why he wasn't feeling confident. He would go on Twitter and everyone would be making fun of his ears. And he's like, are they talking about my ears or the ears on the mask?
I'll tell you what, he looks like the best goalie outside of the NHL right now. I was just referencing that's what they used to call him. Yeah, he's meeting the expectations that people placed on him 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
Better late than never. 100%. He looked fantastic and has for the last 2 months or so been lights out. So
he stole that game, like flat out stole it. They are nowhere in that game without Jacob Markstrom.
Right.
It's and it's so true. And like, the Flames had a couple posts and they were still in it, but no, it was like Markstrom was incredible that night. And it's like it was. I mean, we haven't watched a goalie, in a Canucks uniform do that, since a non-groin injury riddled Luongo. Like, it's great.
Since
it's
the guy
great.
Since the guy they traded him for, yeah.
Ryan Miller had his moments between injuries where he showed flashes of his old self.
We have completely
that
forgotten
team
about
was
that
so
era.
bad, though.
Yeah,
Well, that's why he had to look like that at times. Like Ryan Miller. Yeah, that could have been really ugly some of those nights if they didn't have a guy like Miller in net.
And what was goddamn ugly is that watching James Neal's 50 pieces of his teeth
Okay,
fly.
what happened?
Biega caught him swinging at a puck.
Biega was...
That's a rough year for Neal.
I think Biega had as much coffee last night as you did this morning with your 4 shots of espresso, because he was all over the ice because he finally got to play, and he was running around living up to his namesake of Bulldog.
He's got, 2 or 3 games in now since he's gotten back in the lineup. And honestly, you look at him and you look at Erica Branson and you go... Really? Like, I know there's a height difference, but for the energy, for the physicality you get, for the teeth knocking out that you get,
Right.
He's just above Eric Goodbranson on every level.
I couldn't disagree with that more. Unfortunately. I'm sorry. And I go back to something that Kyle Wellwood said when he was sitting on that very couch that I could see, thanks to 2019 technology, and that it's the little guys running around. They look busy, but they're not really doing anything. Like when Wellwood was talking about energy guys that impress the coach by by hustling and moving their arms and legs instead of not being in the right spot. Biega and Pouliot, 2 of the goals that Calgary got were with them on the ice, and both Pouliot and Biega were woefully and tragically out of position, like just god awful in their own zone. There was the Bennett goal, which by the way shouldn't have counted anyway because he laid on Markstrom's legs while he tucked it in. But Biega went for a body check right at the blue line at like, I don't know what he was doing so high up, but just with reckless abandon went for the hit. It was like a Secret Service agent trying to take a bullet for Trump. It looks impressive, but you were super late. Never going to get there.
I should specify, I wasn't selling Biega as being an excellent NHL defenseman so much as I don't know if I see that much advantage by Goodbranson over Biega.
You are selling him as a serviceable NHL defenseman.
Both of them as depth guys are not that far off.
Hang on, everybody. Yeah. All right, let Dave go on.
Well, you let Eric Goodbranson, he's everybody's whipping boy and all that because he's slow and big and lumbering, but like at least he's in position. Like I watched.
Well, I don't know about that.
Depends on the night, but
compared to Biega, and I know it's everybody's favorite thing to do to rip on Goodbranson, but I would take Goodbranson in the lineup over Alex Biega. 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. And honestly, he's a way better player than Alex Biega. Biega is adorable, and we all love his story, and he's like the extra guy, kind of like how we all love backup goalies in Vancouver.
We love him.
We love him until they play.
I think I would too. It does come down to the price tag again with Eric Goodbranson, where it's like, okay, it's an upgrade, but is it 4 times the value upgrade? And when you look at what you're spending and what you have to spend, we talked about the salary cap, and it's just one of those. It's tough to swallow. He does get it worse than he deserves, and it's because of the expectations that go with the contract of a second pairing defenseman.
I will finish on this note, and Dave will let you go after this. But we made this joke about The Office about who's the day to day and who's the big picture. Mm-hmm. I see this in every debate that PMAC and Dave have, where Dave is a day to day guy, where he talks about how Biega had a bad game on Saturday night, and he did. And Paul is a big picture guy where he's like, but in the grand scheme of things, skill and contract, and it's a delight to listen to. I just wanted to tell you guys that.
We would work together as co-GMs and kill each other after about 12 years, but we'd probably get a couple cups.
You'd have a hell of a dynasty there.
Yeah, 12 years is a long time.
I would finally hug Paul at the 25th anniversary.
All right, bye. We'll let you go there. So enjoy the rest of your sleepy afternoon in the nation's capital.
Bye.
It's very cold here today. It's very cold. No one's going outside.
We're just getting our snowstorm.
Yeah, it's coming in.
The snowbanks here look like the coast, like the North Shore mountains. the Walmart parking lots are piled as far as the eye can see with snow.
We've got a good 1/8 of an inch right now, Dave. So
Yeah, we've
you
been
know, we're
waiting
with
about 4 days for this.
All right, we'll let Dave go. Good night, bud.
Okay, bye.
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 Can't say goodnight to Dave. It's not nighttime yet.
I mean,
Let's all say goodnight to
so
Dave.
long.
We don't know when they're listening.
We don't know when Dave goes to sleep.
For the listeners at home, I had my laptop flipped around so that Paul and Geeta could talk and use hand signs to communicate with Dave.
And we just saw ourselves, so we couldn't really. There was no signaling to be had with. It was very one-sided.
Yeah.
We were signaling to ourselves.
I thought we would get to see Dave.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah, he usually, I don't know why he wasn't on camera that time.
Oh.
He usually probably saves that for me.
Oh. We'll have to talk to him about that.
How dare you? Yeah, let's go to the Pucks.net weather desk. PMAC, what's the weather like?
There's a lot of snow coming down, but it's a very fine snow that's just kind of floating in the air. It's like the other day. None of it stuck to the ground, but it's pretty to look at. It's very Vancouver.
Could it be a possibility that there is a drug lord, say, on the 30th floor, and a gust of wind has blown all his cocaine out the window?
I mean, it's possible, but that is a lot of cocaine.
Speaking of a lot of cocaine, when you go to pucks.net.ca, make sure you sign up for our email newsletter, and it's very important that you do that.
It's a bit of an addiction of ours.
It is. Back to the Canucks really quickly. They had a very delightful slump-bustery kind of game. They won a big 2 points in the Pacific over the Flames.
Okay, so Dave said it was a really exciting game, but you and a bunch of other people and the internets told me it wasn't an exciting game, and I only caught like the last 2 minutes of the third and then overtime, which I thought it was really exciting. So which was it?
I think it was a bit of a slow second period. That's the one I kind of was like...
It was 2-2 in the first.
Yeah.
Like the first was... I don't know if it was high-paced, but there was goal scoring, which always makes it seem exciting one way or another. And there's a little bit of tough stuff. It definitely slowed down, and then overtime always picks up just by the nature of the
We watched them pick up James Neal's teeth out of the ice with a stick and a puck. What's not exciting about that? Come on, guys.
It was intriguing.
It was a fun game, but the Habs and Leafs were your traditional barn burner, if you will.
Which I did watch in its entirety.
Those Leafs are so good.
Yeah.
Oh, good thing I almost forgot about this. I didn't forget about this.
What's that?
It involves you and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, is it what we were looking up last night?
Yeah, Geeta sends me a text, and it's...
in our defense, we were looking for the gritty plush doll.
Yeah, I was given a pin, an enamel pin from disgruntled former employee Sheila of Gritty as a belated Christmas birthday gift. And when I opened it, I was watching the Canucks game with her,
right,
and her boyfriend, and I was blown away of this enamel pin. I thought it was incredible.
Right. So then I went to the NHL shop to see if I could find the plush that we need.
Yeah, we need Gritty plushes,
and everybody's got a plush.
Mm-hmm.
And I send you the link for a very attractive John Tavares plushie.
So Geeta thinks that the plush doll on NHLshop.com of John Tavares is attractive.
I do. He's pretty hot. And then Auston Matthews looks like his dumpy friend.
His scrub hanging out the passenger side of John Tavares' ride.
Kind of. You can tweet out this link.
No, what I'm going to do is I'll put it on the Instagram story with the vote hot, or either a poll or the hotness slider.
Yeah.
Because when you, a grown ass woman, comes to me and says this plush doll is hot.
John Tavares snuggle buddy.
Are you kink shaming, Ryan?
No, whoa. We do not kink shame.
It is. I did think it was weird that they're selling these. These are full size body pillow, Auston Matthews and John Tavares plushes. It's a little odd. But hey, the NHL, you do you, and no one's kink shaming anyone.
They're $400, and the strangest thing I saw was removable gear and anatomically correct.
You took it too far, Ryan. You took it too far.
I take it too far when you're accusing me of kink shaming? Come on.
Too far.
Come on.
Anyways, the closest thing on the NHL shop to a gritty plush is Claude Giroux.
So how many Claude Giroux plush dolls should we buy? 4?
One for each of us.
He's got more of a Voracek look, I feel like.
Yeah, but nobody likes Jacob Voracek. People like Claude Giroux. That's a household name.
Is that how they designed Gritty? They just took all the Flyers and smushed them together. Like did
No. You know what they did? They
What?
took the Philly Fanatic.
Yeah.
And they put UP's. They basically made him look like UP by making him look like Scott Hartnell, the pride of Philadelphia. So it's the Philly Fanatic with his big round beer belly, and his thirst for party is he's a party animal. And then they just said, here you go, and he won over everybody. Who doesn't? I'd love a plush Gritty.
There's been some really weird Gritty gifs going around on the internet lately.
The Brazzers one?
Well, the funny thing is, that's the one. The NHL tweeted that out originally in an innocent, this is fun, look, Gritty is silly spraying the broadcast team or whoever it was. And then they took it down very quickly because the way that Gritty was holding the silly spray was around waist level and it was on the side of him. The arm was on the side you couldn't see, so it was not available from that angle, and it looked a little risque depending on who you asked. I mean, in a comical, ridiculous, cartoony way.
Right.
The NHL deletes it from the official accounts, and instantly people are like, nope, we're not letting this die, including Brazzers, if you go to their Twitter account. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a little much. So it's kind of like Ryan taking that joke too far. It's the same. It's on the same level.
So,
but Brazzers and pucks on net go hand in hand. We know from the past. I'm not. The last show was called the Innuendo Show. What is going on here? We're the Howard Stern of hockey podcasts.
What are we calling this? Silly? You call that silly
pineapple flavored silly spray?
We're having a good time.
Alrighty then.
So the
take it away, Ryan.
Here, what should we do? Fun or sad?
What's sad?
Sven Baertschi.
Oh,
his career is probably done.
Is it?
Well, he got his really bad concussion earlier in the year, and he was out for a long time. And he was contemplating. He was very vocal in a couple interviews where he said, He didn't say it, but he was. I'm thinking. I'm weighing all my options.
Of course.
And then he went home on the road trip, and all Travis Green would say is he's not feeling well.
Right.
And so that was quite alarming. And then they officially announced that he has post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah.
So he's likely finished. And he has had a series of concussions, but this run is more related to the whiplash he got in it as well. Like it was a bad concussion, and it was kind of like the bad Sidney Crosby one, where it was just a whole series of unfortunate events.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's probably wrapping up his career unless there's a real, you hope he's not, but that seems.
He's not that old. He's
No.
probably the fourth best. He's probably the best Canuck forward after the big three.
Right.
Yeah.
He is at an age where he should be coming into
Tyler Mott.
Yeah.
Tim Schaller.
When he has been playing, has been putting up numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's sad that this would happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at, this is a guy who's been through a lot, overcome a lot just performance-wise, fighting his way into becoming an NHL regular and a contributor, and to see it happening right now. And he is one of the nicest guys out there, about to get married, or he is married, about to have his first kid. I think it's his first kid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's a lot going on for this guy.
Yeah.
And for this to happen to him, I hope he's able to rehab. I hope he takes his time and allows it to heal up. But it says a lot about, we've talked about this in the past, and some people have argued, you can't take the rough and tough elements of hockey out. And they're so careful about, we're only going to suspend or penalize if it's a obvious, distinct, targeted, 100% sure that it's a dirty hit.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's borderline, a lot of the times they let it go, or it's just a 2-minute minor or whatever. And I have it burned into my head when he got hit. It was I obviously got it burned into my head. I think it was the Vegas Golden Knights.
That's right, yeah.
And after the hit, he gets up and just kind of looks at the ref and is like, what the hell, guys?
Mm-hmm.
This has happened to me 4 or 5 times now in my career.
Right.
How is this still okay? Even if it is just recklessness or carelessness, we automatically give a guy a double minor if he cuts somebody for being reckless with his hockey stick or knocks a tooth out.
Mm-hmm.
Or 7.
Anytime it's a headshot, even if it's recklessness, even if it's borderline, they need to get that out. And it doesn't mean eliminating hitting. It just means making players aware of their bodies and not taking as many risks. Because you can't come out with the excuse, oh, it was an accident. Like, it doesn't matter if it's an accident. If you're talking about guys rattling other people's brains, which we're seeing evidence of, Sven Baertschi is just the latest example. It's something the NHL could do something about, but they haven't.
But they'll miss it in the game, and then they don't want to give suspensions based on the injury, and so when they miss it it just kind of creates that precedent where if you miss it, which they did, or they didn't call it, you can't go back and then give suspensions or penalties or, what's I'm looking for. It'll say suspensions based on that injury because it just creates...
Like fines?
Yeah, or just any penalty on or off the ice.
Oh, okay.
And people are saying they're legal hits and what have you. It's like, well, change the rules. Encourage players, if they're going to go in for a hit, to not do anything that could risk direct contact, putting danger to someone's skull. We talked to Kyle Wellwood about he's working on this program to monitor concussions and head injuries with helmets. He's on board with this team, and hopefully with stuff like that, people see more evidence, and hopefully somebody does something, because we know in the world people don't always follow scientific evidence when there's advice of issues that arise on all sorts of things. This is one, though, that you could easily at least put a dent in. I mean, maybe that's a poor choice of words for this type of thing, but you got to try to change this and move it in the right direction, because this is going to affect these people for the rest of their lives, and they're giving their all for our entertainment, for this sport that the owners and people who run the league are making millions, billions of dollars off of. Yeah. You do need to care about the health of the players, and it makes me sick.
The one positive is you see a lot of, mid neutral zone attempted hits that they don't follow through anymore. Like they know, like if I hit this guy, I'm going to kill him, and they're letting up. And in those, which I, the curmudgeon part of me that's like violent, tough old school hockey, which I love. But to see that, like that's just unnecessarily like I have to hurt you now.
Yeah. A lot of boarding stuff I feel like has changed. Players will ease up now. You still see some bad boarding hits, but players will ease up now, and it probably does come from 20 years of having little stop signs on the back of peewee hockey players and stuff, instilling it in players at a young age. Yeah, it's not a matter of removing hitting or rough stuff from the game. It's just encouraging players to do it in the right way.
Yes. Another concussion news. That's all Alex. Well, so on Monday night when we recorded,
right,
we thought Alex Edler's.
He was out.
We thought he was done. Because his face hit the ice and bounced off it, and it was horrifying. Amazingly enough, all he had is just a concussion, which what I find funny, and like obviously it's more like a concussion is serious.
Yeah.
But the injury looked falling on the ice looked so severe. When you hear he only had a concussion, you're like, oh, just only a concussion? Like it's just so funny because that something still is so severe as a concussion. When you watch that hit, your reaction's like, oh, a concussion.
No.
There was fear that it was a fracture in his skull.
I thought
the way he hit the ice.
Yeah, I thought he would have come out of it like Dan Hamhuis when he got hit in the face with the puck.
The jaw situation. Yeah. I mean, it's potentially worse than that.
No, this is like best case scenario, which is not a good thing with a concussion. But.
Yeah. But he only lost a handful of teeth, no fractures, no breaks, which is a very good thing.
And he'll be back playing in a week.
Allegedly, yeah. And then he'll just in time to trade him.
But we agreed not to talk about that.
We gave it a week, I thought.
He's shown how tough he really is. Why would you get rid of him?
Because you need him. Well, you do need him for that playoff run.
Exactly.
This Canucks string 4 in a row. The next thing you know, they're got home ice in the playoffs.
I don't know if I go that far, but
why are you such a pessimist?
Come on, Paul. Look at the stats. The facts are right there, Jack.
It'd be more than 4 wins. We'll just leave it at that.
Fine. 5 wins.
Talking about bright spots after some sad stuff, Canucks-wise, Elias Pettersson hit 50 points. in 45 games in his rookie season so far.
I want to bring a question.
But he didn't score on a 2-on-1 yesterday, I saw.
No.
He only had 2 points.
2 primary assists, and it's just...
And the winner in the shootout.
The winner was so sneaky deaky good. Like, just the way he... Like, his shot is so deceiving.
Yeah.
And, like, he scored in the top right corner over Dave Rittich. But just the way he shoots... Riddick. Just the way he shoots it, it looks like it's his whole body language is saying he's going to go one way. The way he holds the stick is going another, and then it looked like he didn't even aim for it. It just went there. Like he just used his mind to set it there. It's so great.
Perfectly placed, yeah. But okay, so 50 points in 45 games.
We have a question. Should we read it?
Can I touch on this first though? One of the main things.
Yeah.
How many players do you think, or maybe you've seen this stat already, got 50 points in their first 45 games in the last 20 years?
10.
Less.
5.
7.
Fewer.
Alex Ovechkin.
Ovechkin's one of them.
Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby's one of them.
Connor McDavid.
Nope.
Auston Matthews.
Nope.
Give me a hint. East or West?
Eastern Conference.
Steve Stamkos.
Nope.
Nikita
Big Russian.
Geno Malkin?
Geno Malkin. Those are the only 3 players in the last 20 years.
Hang on, let me get the clickbait article ready.
I'm pretty sure other people have already...
PMAC, PD better than Crosby, Ovechkin.
No.
Great.
Geno
Another
Malkin.
comparison.
to be fair, Ovechkin and Malkin got more points in their first 45 games.
Okay.
Crosby got 50 points in those first. So as good as Crosby.
There you go.
Right?
Little bit better.
But look at who those people were playing with.
Ron Francis, probably.
I mean...
All of them?
Yep.
Are you saying like...
Crosby and Malkin had each other.
And Ron Francis. What's he still doing here?
Malkin had Crosby. Crosby didn't have Malkin. Or no, did they start the same year?
Because the lockout, remember?
lockout.
There
That's
you
right.
go.
So they did have each other.
Yeah.
PD's got a poor man's Brett Hall and Nikolai Goldobin just kind of hanging around.
Hey, they got the super line with Bowie Horvat.
Therefore, his points mean more.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. He's doing okay. And yes, we do have a question.
Okay, so old Corey Bananas, not like old, I just mean long-time
Good
listener.
old.
If Deaky Pete plays in every Canucks game for the remainder of the season, how many points do you all think he ends up with? So there's 26 games remaining, and he's got 50 points in 40-something games.
80.
Yeah. 80 points?
I did the math.
Okay.
He's projected to get 29 more points this season.
So
which would take him to
79.
79.
Yes.
$1, Bob, right here. $1.
But you were both over, so I'm afraid you lose.
I feel like he could surprise us.
My money is on 83.
Okay.
So that people can say that he's more than a point-a-game player and just continue to...
No, you know what everybody will say? Imagine if he hadn't missed all those games to all those injuries.
Yeah, he's over a point-a-game player rate. He's about 1.11, I think. That was the equation I came up with.
Okay, I just see that 83 there. And then when if he has a slower second year, it's like, well, he would... All
right.
So 79, 80, and 83.
The record for the Canucks for points in a rookie season is 60, held by Ivan Halinka and Pavel Bure.
All right.
Ivan Halinka was a Canuck?
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Now he has a famous building or a tournament.
A tournament named after him.
Yeah, interesting.
So, good chance, knock on wood, if Elias Pettersson plays out the rest of the season, he should easily destroy that record. And Pavel Bure played 60 games his rookie year, I want to say, somewhere around there. So it'll be about the same.
Well, it took him a while to sneak him on that train out of USSR.
Well, he escaped on September 6th and then went through all that trouble only to have Pat Quintal, nope, you can't wear 9-6. That's not okay.
We don't believe in commie numbers like that, son.
You're wearing 10 and you're going to like it.
And then he was smoking a cigar at the time.
He let him wear 96 eventually. It's all good.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember if it was Pat Quinn either. It might have been someone else.
Quinn would have still been there.
No, but I don't know who was like...
Quinn would have been GM.
I don't know who was the one that was like, this is the organization's rule.
Frank Griffiths allowed it. I don't know.
Mrs. Griffiths passed away. They gave her a nice
That was nice.
celebration before the game.
My favorite,
against Calgary.
one of my absolutely favorite moments of Canuck history is when they go in Game 6 '94 when they review Jeff Courtnall's goal, and then they show the press box or the suite where Mrs. Griffiths is, and she just kind of does a bit of a two fist how you do.
It's a throwback, but yeah, no. Growing up, she was like a big part of imagery with the Canucks. I feel like
Nice
for a
old
while.
lady loves her boys.
The
Yeah.
Griffiths family. Yeah, it was a different era back then.
I'm so like she looked like she lived. How old was she when she passed away?
Was she
90.
95?
Yeah, she lived a hell of a life.
Yeah.
Good for her. So yeah, we're on points. I think I have another question. No, we'll go. Oh, we'll tie it in because Mills was asking why the St. Louis Blues are so good, and
They just won in overtime today.
they just won in overtime, which is a detriment to my fantasy league team.
I feel like Mills is just digging for compliments though, because I'm pretty sure he's the guy who picked up Bennington at the right time.
Whom?
And the goaltender
Whom?
for the St. Louis
I know
Blues, who is 9-1-1
Wow.
with I think it's a 921 save percentage
He's
right now.
hot.
You want people are talking about Carter Hart with all this, and Carter Hart is younger, so
Yeah.
it's more impressive and this and that. But Bennington stepped into the league
He's
on
like
a team that was headed for the depths of hell itself. And given them new life.
Yeah.
Like, he has been fantastic back there.
And then they as well. Well, you bring up his stats. They slotted in Ryan O'Reilly with Tarasenko and Shen to bolster that top line. And in the last 5 games, O'Reilly's got 4 points. Tarasenko 7.
It's
Shen,
a
7,
931 save percentage.
which is unheard of. That's what Carter Hart got in the WHL. Carter Hart was asked to get a place to live, which is one of my favorite little human side of the game. I think that's great. Where you're not staying in go get a really shitty apartment and get out of our 5-star accommodations.
So yeah, St. Louis is a team that did underachieve. I know some people didn't expect much from them, but they have a lot of talented players.
Right.
And you're still seeing a team with a guy like Jaden Schwartz who's still recovering from injury. He's not really going full stream, but in the past has been a very talented offensive threat, especially if he's just your secondary. So if he can finally wake himself up like some of these other guys have and get back from that injury, they're only going to get better theoretically.
It's chemistry and
if they're
confidence
moving in the right direction. But yeah, it's a good club. There's some good veterans. David Perron's another example of a guy who stepped it up.
They're never very good, but they're never very bad.
Yeah, that's St. Louis for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
even when they won the President's Trophy in the late 90s.
Right.
Really? Them?
Even like last year, they were playoff bound, and then they made a colossal error at the deadline.
Well, if you ask their GM, they weren't playoff bound, and that's why they shipped Paul Stastny up north. And boy, did they send that in there, rub that in their face.
It is one of those things, though, as a general manager, some people are critical of the guys that just try to make the playoffs.
Right.
It is a ballsy move if you're a guy and go, well, maybe we sneak in, but we're going to lose in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
If you really believe that, to be able to get some assets for something that would disappear otherwise,
Yeah.
I kind of respect that in the guy. Who's to say whether it was the right move? And the players did not seem to think it was the right move because they didn't agree with him. But
Right.
They
they
got over
shouldn't.
it. They
Players
got over it.
Yeah, they actually
Yeah.
ended the season sort of okay.
I don't
I don't know if Stastny would have made as big a difference as some people thought on that roster, but
The Chicago Blackhawks are also really hot right now, and they always wanted. Everyone would say, "Why isn't Kane and Taves on the same line together?" Because you would kind of distribute the wealth when you still had Hossa and Brandon Saad and whoever.
yeah, one of them gets stuck playing with Hossa and Saad.
Or Hartman,
Sharp.
or Panarin, or something.
Ugh, must be rough.
I was snooping around on the Daily Faceoff, which shows all your lines. Castaway loser, Edmonton Oiler Drake Caggiula.
Oh, yeah.
Caligula is playing on the top line with Kane and Taves. So it's funny what happens, and they're
He must have done something real good.
yeah, they're right in the thick of things too. And Caggiula's got 4 points in his last 5.
Yeah.
Kane's got 8 or 9
Okay.
points, and Taves 7. So things are clicking right when they need to be. It's all positives in the West. Almost all the teams that are in this weird, except for Anaheim and Edmonton.
Yeah.
The top of the show ridicule. All these teams seem to have something going for them that could propel them with that chemistry and confidence into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's a bit of a turtle march into the final, into the playoffs, but it's also quite intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun.
And Edmonton,
I believe it's pronounced Deadmonton.
after everything we've said, has had some games where they've looked okay, and Cam Talbot had a good night. They gave him 3 starts in a row all of a sudden.
You know
after
why, right?
Everything. What was that?
They're showcasing him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But he was looking okay, so probably got that third one, based on the good performance in Game 2.
Yeah.
They're the type of team that'll show up once in a while and give the fans like this, oh, maybe we can turn this around, but can't ever seem to consistently get results. It's, take a step forward and then take 5 back.
Mills also asked about the Ducks needing to relieve their GM or coach, but he sent that last night.
Wow.
So we hopefully covered that one for you. And he asks,
Psychic Mills.
with Corey Schneider doing so poorly in New Jersey, do the Canucks make a trade for him? No, but the Calgary Flames should.
Calgary, I mean, if you can move Smith in return, like you're going to have to give something up
Right.
considerable just for somebody to take Smith's money off your hands. But
I don't know what their pick situation is because they gave up a fair bit to get Dougie Hamilton.
I don't think Schneider's the guy for Calgary because they need a goalie now. And I still think Corey Schneider.
Wait, he's not still the goalie
He
of
is
the future.
the goalie of the future. He's going to be 35 years old. He's going to be great.
Or he needs to recover from hip surgery. So he's not going to be Corey Schneider until he's fully recovered from that, which could take another year.
What happened to that 2011 Canucks? They all have hip surgeries. Always.
Those long seasons take a lot out of you, man. But no, Corey Schneider's the type of guy I see is going to wind up, whether they keep him in New Jersey, if they believe in the recovery methods, or he wanders around for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden he's going to be like a Vezina candidate again if he heals up properly. It's a big if.
In the future.
He could be the type of guy that all of a sudden is like a veteran backup that someone swallowed his salary and then steps in and puts up like a 940 save percentage for 20 games in a row.
Those are Bennington numbers right there. Household names.
But Corey Schneider, I would not expect a contender to trade for him now.
Okay.
But he could be a diamond in the rough for somebody that is going to get forgotten about and booped on for a while. But he's got the head for it. If he can recover, he could still be a goalie. He's still got a few years left in him.
I will wrap up let's do, this is a fun little piece. No, we'll do 2 fun pieces. One, this is a quick little stat. Jumbo, Joe Thornton, 1,049 all-time career assists. He's now tied Gordie Howe for 9th all-time on the assist list.
Okay.
And he's 16th all-time in points, one behind Teemu Selanne.
Wow.
1,454. That's very impressive.
Those are really impressive numbers.
It's a shame he's never won anything. It really is, because he is an amazing player.
Maybe this year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. I forgot. The Sharks are really good. They're coming together right when we need them to. Jumbo's winning the cup. Okay.
They're not going to trade him to Toronto?
I mean, he could win the cup in San Jose, or he could win it in Toronto.
For Marlowe, straight up. One of you's winning the cup. One of you's not.
That would be something.
And
but
neither one of you are captain anymore.
Do you remember when he started that rookie year?
Oh, yeah.
And everybody hated Joe Thornton because he underperformed relative to, was it 8th overall pick, Sergei Samsonov? And everyone was like, thank God the Bruins had 2 picks. Because you get saddled with this bum Joe Thornton and then Sergei Samsonov, who is sure to be the next Pavel Bure, but he won't ever get a knee injury.
Calder Trophy winner, Sergei Samsonov.
So... yeah, it's funny how stuff like that works out. You never quite know in the first few years of a guy. When you talk about Patrick Laine's struggles for 2 or 3 months, he could easily bounce back this month and score like 20 goals.
No, Laine's done.
10 games.
Laine is done. He's like Corey Schneider 10 years from now. Bum. All right, here's my last piece of fun little facts. This was on the hockey subreddit. The first player to, I believe it's called the B&T Center or BT&T Center.
Okay.
Or the BT and some stupid name in Sunrise, Florida, where the Tampa Bay Lightning play, or the Florida Panthers. The first person to be hit with a puck, a dubious honor based on what happened years later, was Ariana Grande.
Whoa.
And it happened in 1998. And fun fact, she was hit twice by
Where was
a puck.
she sitting?
She was keeping her head. She didn't have her head in the game. She's probably, humming a tune in her head or something.
Is this the Ariana Grande?
Yeah, her mom tweeted this, and she's like, "Yep, she actually got hit twice, and right before the Zamboni ride was when she got hit for a second time." So,
Wow.
I think I retweeted this, but I printed out the
Gord Murphy hit her too.
Oh,
there's a name from the past.
Boca Kid gets a puck and ice. 5-year-old fine after being struck second time. A real cutie in her Red Panthers jersey. Tiny Ariana Grande Batera attracts plenty of attention when she sits in the first row behind the penalty box. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Attention from the officials, the players, and fellow Panthers fans. But the 5-year-old Boca Raton kid who has gone to just about every home game since she turned 2 also attracts pucks. Yep, hockey pucks. Last night's historic Panther home opener in the squeaky new arena, her mom, Joan Grande Batera, was telling Insider about a game last January where her daughter was hit right in the wrist by a errant Gord Murphy shot. And believe it or not, she was hit again. This time by a puck fired by an unidentified Tampa Bay player.
Probably Brian Bradley.
I was like, let's just identify him now.
It's Brian Bradley. I just thought that was
Maybe
great.
Darren Pupa. Deflection.
Just clearing.
Maybe it was backup goalie Manon Rayon. Years later, out for revenge. I thought that was absolutely adorable, and it's pretty cool that she was went to so many Florida Panthers games.
There's
I had
a
no
photo
idea.
of her as this adorable little curly-haired girl on the Zamboni, and it's long enough ago that I wasn't 100% sure if it's the same as Ariana, because Ariana Grande is done up quite a bit whenever we get to see her these days.
I don't think that's a common name.
You never know.
I mean,
it could be regional.
I did my research. It's her. Thank you. Next, is that the thing? Fun. And now on 5 Minutes for Paying, we will discuss how God is a woman. That'll wrap it up for this week's podcast.
Were you watching that episode of How I Met Your Mother?
No. Oh. Make sure you follow us on Twitter.
We become a theology podcast.
Pucksonnet.ca or Pucksonnet.ca. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you want to listen to me and Paul talk for over an hour and 45 minutes about Peter Chiarelli's time as general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, you can head on over to patreon.com/pucksonnet where you can pledge a couple of bucks.
And you don't have to listen to that one. You can just subscribe to support our normal podcast.
That's true. On iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, turn downloads on, Google Podcasts. Leave a rating and a review. We haven't had a rating and review in the iTunes store for a while, and we need those to help defeat the awful Steve Jobs algorithm. So maybe they could do that. That's free. It's stupid, but it's very helpful.
And if we get enough new Patreon patrons, we will start a full-time theology podcast called God's on Net. Is that no? Am I taking this too far?
It's going to be
You
called...
gave a weird teaser, and I don't know what he's talking about.
That's an Ariana Grande song.
God is a woman.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Now
I thought there was a story that we were going to get into. But
we missed. We didn't
I'm
get
sorry,
the joke.
Ryan. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, well, go to our Instagram account and vote whether you find the John Tavares plush doll sexually attractive. And we don't kink shame at Pucks on Net, and so we will not. Whatever you suggest, whatever you say, perfectly acceptable.
Comment on it from a burner account if you don't want to out yourself. That's fine. We don't judge anything like that.
Of course, we keep. You know what? We're just eyes forward. Whatever you do, whatever NHL plush doll you like, that's your business. That's not my business.
The end of this show. Oh my God.
He just happens to be a lot more handsome than our siblings.
Those look like that. Looks like John Tavares got run over with a steamroller.
Careful what you say, because Ryan's mentioned multiple times that he looks a lot like the city he's here.
Go like our Facebook page too while you're at it. And the email newsletter, eh?
This is a good one.